Episode 734 of Lucas Tigers and Bronze Oh My, approaching like our official 1 week out from our 2 year anniversary, Papa G's birthday. If you guys have been with us for the full ride, part of the ride, just this last 100 yards, we love you. We appreciate you. We're excited to meet a lot of you at National. Please like, share, and subscribe. And welcome to the Fractional Report before opening bell, brought to you by Collectable.
There you go. Take a bow, man. You've said it now for the last couple of months. You watch the wild ride like Mr. Toad. You see the ones that are up, they're going to be down. You see the ones that are down, they're going to be up. Kind of like Gleyber Torres is the poster child for it, right? I mean, down 28% this week. And, I mean, that card has been down as much as 42% in any given week over the last few months and up as much as 52%. So, you said it last week. Hey, take a look at that Sadahara O. It's on the down. It's on the losers. It's on the bottom three performers. And there it is, down 38% last week, up 58% this week. It's amazing how this stuff works.
If you could have one offering that you would buy into that we haven't seen here on Collectible.
Oh, you mean just my own, like anything?
Yeah.
Anything out there, any card or memorabilia that I could buy. That it's something that can be bought, though, right? It's not like, oh, wow, like Mickey Mantle's, I don't know, first game uniform or something like that, like some crazy thing like that.
You don't think that's out there? You don't think that's out there?
Probably not. I mean, it was funny.
I think Marilyn Monroe has it.
I was at the Met game yesterday. It's a completely different thing. It's not Marilyn Monroe, damn it. So I was talking to a couple of folks that actually made me seem young. They're watching baseball, and we were talking about, the Mets and had, how Willie Mays played there. And, we were talking about, like, who's the best you've seen, right? I made a joke about Hernandez because Keith Hernandez's number was getting retired. I'm like, he's not even the best first baseman on the field right now. And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, Mattingly is the manager for the Marlins. He was even better. And so we got into kind of like a conversation of, like, the best out there. And this guy told me that he was at a game, I think when Shea Stadium first opened, for the Mets, and that they opened up the outfield wall, and walking like arm in arm, like four guys across, was Duke Snider, Duke Flatbush, Brooklyn Dodgers, Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, and Joe DiMaggio. Like walked in and is like, part of the pomp and circumstance of opening up. And I said to him, who was better, Mantle or Mays? And we started talking about that. And what he said was, what was funny is these guys, they never quit on the top. Like Mays, as good of a fielder as he was, he played for the Mets in 73 and was out in the outfield and balls were dropping. Like he didn't know where they were. Because, I mean, here's a guy who played for 20-something years and was just not in shape. It wasn't the same kind of science that it is now. It isn't just the guys weren't able to take care of themselves. And Mickey Mantle also played for a long time and was, a shadow of himself. And what he said was these guys, not only did they get broken down, they get injured. Mantle, he said, his career average fell into 300. He was always pissed off about that. But that they had to do it. They had to do it because they were basically broke. And they weren't making the money. And said the teams obviously treated these guys different too. I meant to look this up, but he's like, you can find a newspaper story about how when Mickey Mantle made over $100,000, the Yankees published it like, we have to raise ticket prices because we have to pay Mickey Mantle $100,000, and people hated Mickey Mantle for it. Like wow. They made him the villain. You know what I mean? And I mean, just it's an interesting thing to think about, right? Because and why did I just waste 3 minutes of your life, guys, with those stories? It's a different game, it's a different sport. Actually. But your deal was, hey, could Mickey Mantle's uniform be out there? Nobody gave a shit about his uniform. He probably wore it, at home, fixing his car. It wasn't a multi-million-dollar piece.
More valuable 70 years later. Like now everyone gives a shit about Luka and Trey uniforms, which means that they're finished with the game and like they go in the locker room and they're like preserved and whatever. But all those guys you mentioned from a baseball standpoint, except for Mattingly, we talked about that, they all won. Even Willie Mays, he only won one World Series, 24-year All-Star, which is kind of insane to even think about. 24-year All-Star. That's a professional corporate, that's a corporate run. But they all won World Series. I think, this is a theory, tell me if I'm wrong, I think the sell-off of Mike Trout is just beginning, and I think the rubber has hit the road, and people are saying he's not going to win anything.
I mean, it's very possible. Part of one of the cool things about baseball, although not everybody stays where they are now, but guys, there is more of people will start with a team and stay with a team, and he
Because more
has.
money's in it. He's not
Exactly. Well,
leaving all
but
that money.
yeah, but basketball has also more money if you sign a max with your team and people still leave. There's a lot more sign and trades and that kind of stuff. But with baseball, yes, the same thing. But I mean, people do stay in baseball, and unless he gets traded, yeah, I think you're probably right.
There's a lot of money in Mike Trout. Like his cards are not priced like he's a Don Mattingly. They're priced like he's a Mickey Mantle combined with a Willie Mays. And I'm curious because that post was interesting. Alex did an amazing job clipping that Ohtani and Trout reel. And I kind of picked up that the sentiment was, hey, we're seeing it too. We're seeing what you guys are talking about. And it's great that Ohtani's doing these amazing things and Trout is too. But that team has never won. Trout's never won a first round series. And it doesn't look like they're going to make the playoffs this year. I know it's only halfway and anything can happen, but they don't have the pitching, is what everyone says.
Yeah, I mean, listen, baseball's difficult, right? I mean, if you want a historical comparison for Trout, I'll give you one. And as somebody who's revered.
Mattingly.
No, more revered than that.
Griff?
Ted Williams. Ted Williams never won.
Ted Williams went to fight for this country, and then he started a baseball card company.
Ted Williams is great. But that's kind of the comp, high side comp for Trout.
Ted
numbers.
Williams has a 1939 play ball, and there's like 14 cards. Trout has a bordered gold tops update from with every color. One has cognac. I think you get a bottle of cognac with the card.
Dude, I love when you talk about cards you have no clue about, but yes, he does have a cognac. The cognac
What are you talking about? I don't know.
The gold one, there's only 50 PSA 10s left.
I know every card in history. I have a photogenic memory, and I've been on PWCC for the last month. It's pretty crazy what's in this brain.
Yes, photogenic memory. It's fantastic. I'm happy to hear about it. Is that like when you told me you could see the future because you had ESPN?
I still haven't mastered the English language, but I know everything about cards. It's scary. I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like...
Listen, I understand what you're saying, and I'd like to disagree with you, but I don't think I can. Trout is an interesting story. There's only so many times you can say, baseball's different. It's the consummate team sport. There's more guys on the field. You can't control what happens. It's basketball. You got a star, and if your guy's the best guy, he should win a championship during the time that he's playing. And you see it with baseball. A lot of these guys did. You talk about Mays and Mantle and those guys. And Trout very well may not. He very well may not. And he's had a couple of bad slumps. Yeah, shoot.
So why I'm saying that is there's a 2011 finest superfractor of Mike Trout, top finest superfractor. It's down to 130K, down 30% this week. And the Collectable actually put an interesting comment here. Anyone who's playing the short-term game with Trout let me read it actually exactly how it says it. Has lost sight of the forest through the trees. And I actually disagree. So we get these kind of the data from them. And I think most Mike Trout investors are actually very long-term investors.
Yes.
I think a lot of people that have been on Trout have held his cards through everything because he really hasn't had a true slump. Like he's been good year in and year out. He's had injuries, but every year he's been incredible. So I actually think his collector base are as patient as anybody in the hobby.
Sure. Well, because when he does play, he rewards you. He potentially could be the MVP every year. I mean, everybody likes what Judge is doing, but his WAR is the same as Trout's. Trout has, he's gone through a couple of these 0 for 20 and 1 for 20 kind of skids here, but he still has 23 or 24 home runs, which is, nothing to sneeze at. Is tops. He's not 30 like Judge,
but he's missed some games too, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Do you think we've gone a little bit overboard with Moneyball? Like WAR is wins above replacement. It's still math. It's a formula. Yes. Like it's still derived from it's like that efficiency metric that shows Jokic is the greatest ever.
Yeah. Yep.
It's that's great, but we still have to use the eye test. Have we gone way too far with Moneyball? In your opinion, you've watched both
A little bit, but it works. You talk about like data and stuff like that. At the game yesterday, it was like, oh, how come there's so many guys on the left side of the field for when this guy's up? And then the next pitch, the guy grounds the ball to where there's 3 infielders. The shift.
But
there's a reason.
The shift. That's not data.
That's data that came up with the shift because you look through all the times the guy grounds the ball to the left side.
Yes, that's probability. That's probability. But WAR is like, okay, we're going to.
I understand what you're saying. I think the bigger thing that you're talking about and why I think you're right here is look at the overall collector's market now, right? There's a reason why baseball trends differently, right? You love basketball, you love football, but ultimately the collector base that's come in and drove that stuff, drove the prices of Mahomes, drove the prices of Giannis and Luka, drove the prices of Mac Jones. These young collectors, these people who are half my age and can buy my collection twice, they are in it for championships. They're buying the guys they think are going to win championships, and that's Burrow, that's Herbert, that's Mac Jones, that's whoever it is, that's Luka, that's Giannis. That's all of these guys that they think Tatum. They think
can go on a championship run because it's actually not the championship, right? It's the sell-off after. It's
ultimately they have to have the championship because those guys, if you give them a couple of years, you can go on a run. But if you don't get there, it doesn't make a difference. You could win the MVP, but if you don't win the championship, Lamar Jackson had a great couple of first years also, but has kind of tailed off. You need a championship, and even Mahomes, who has MVP championship, he goes 3-4 years now without an MVP, without a championship, and people are going to sour on him too. Trust me, that's just the way that this works. It is one of those, like, you have to continue to do it. Everybody's looking for the next Tom Brady. Everybody's looking for the next LeBron. And in baseball, that's not Trout right now, And another good comp for him, and it's funny because as soon as I give this comp, I'm going to say why he's not him. So it's funny to do that with a comp. Griffey. Because Griffey is a guy of a generation who had great numbers but never won, right? He had some good playoff success, but he never won a championship. And he also, while he had great numbers for his career, he's not, the top of any of them. He never had a single season home run record. He never, career-wise, he has great numbers. But
that swing, Cage, that swing will captivate someone.
The smile.
The
fun, the dancing, the blowing bubblegum, the changing, the this. That's the kid, man. It's the kid.
Dude, baseball is the most boring sport ever. Basketball, Ja dunks on people. In baseball, someone turns their cap 180 degrees.
It wasn't that.
I'm sorry. I'm going to get... Dude, the baseball community lights me up in the YouTube comments.
You should get lit up. But that's... Listen, so here's the thing, right? Baseball, it does change. Griffey was a start of what you're talking about. Tatis dancing, bat flipping, like that's a huge change in baseball. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. Sure, dunking. You can't dunk in baseball. It's just not part of the sport. You know what I mean? It's just not. It's not that you can't dunk in soccer either.
Though. You could Baby Ruth them. You could call your shot. You could say, "I'm going to hit it off that foul pole." Dang into home run and then do it. That's badass.
In soccer, after someone finally scores a goal after 45 minutes of game time or 60 minutes of game time, they slide on their knees. I mean, that's excitement.
Dude, I don't know how they do that because...
And they just keep sliding. Sliding.
That does not feel good on your knees. Let me flip the script. So are we too harsh on Mr. Kevin Durant? So the market has just chewed him up. I don't know if there's a player. I mean, there's data to this. So maybe Slab Stocks is a great follow for this. In the last 2-3 months, I don't know if there's a player with championships who's fallen off more than Durant. His Topps Chrome is now below $10,000. And what is also interesting...
No, I think it's trading at 12.5, but
12.5, but it's Topps Chrome.
Yep.
There's recent sales. And
yep. Oh, definitely.
When you watch cards more and more and more, you go to shows, you actually realize there's eras and like 3-4 year periods when there's a lot of cards created, and there's some eras where there's not. Durant does not have as many rookie cards as Kobe, not even close, as LeBron, or as Jordan.
Kevin Durant's another great Mike Trout comparison.
Durant's won.
Now follow me. This season, what happened this season is about the worst narrative that could have ever happened for Kevin Durant. Because not only did his team implode, right? And this favorite team, the Nets, were supposed to be doing such great stuff, and they just didn't. But the ultimate bad thing happened. The team that he won without him. So yes, you're right when you say Durant has rings, Durant has championships. When the team that won, an older version of the team that won with you, just wins without you, the narrative shifts to he wasn't needed. They were not his championships. They could have won.
Price League Wiggins.
They could have won without him, and they replaced him with Wiggins and won. Yes, that's the narrative. And is that an overreaction? Maybe, but that's what's currently going on with his cards. I mean, it's a great point. He has championships, but people aren't really counting them.
Last one, and then I'll popcorn. And dude, Heroes puts out some great content. I love what he's doing with a little bit longer form kind of blogs. He posted a picture of Troy Brown Jr. with a 7 jersey on the Lakers. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Who's 7 on the Lakers?
Lamar Odom.
And
not Lamar Odom.
Dude, Lamar Odom was way better than people realize. Lamar Odom was really good. Really good. I remember that trade when they sent Shaq to the Heat. Lamar was like this weird player that could do a little bit of everything. It was so long. Drugs got the best of him. God bless his soul.
Happens to all of us.
Troy Brown Jr. showing a 7 jersey, which is Melo's number, which means like Melo's not coming back. It's a little disrespectful. Why does Melo, who's your guy in a lot of ways, your guy, like just I think in New York, have you ever seen a more disrespected Hall of Famer?
I mean, he's a basket getter, but he's not a complete player. He never played defense, never wanted to play defense. He never wanted to switch roles. I think a good comparison in 10 years is going to be Russell Westbrook.
To Melo?
Yeah, as far as disrespected. You're saying a Hall of Famer who will be disrespected. Yes, Russell Westbrook. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I think he puts up Hall of Famer numbers. He actually won an MVP, but he's basically Westbrook. People hate him.
I'm bidding on a Flair Masterpiece 1 of 1 of Russ. Oh, no, it's a Panini. It was a Panini Prestige Masterpiece that looks just like the Flair 1 of 1. It's like $120.
Wow.
I'm like, but what if Melo? So I have Can you see this? Remember Boogie went to the Warriors?
Mm-hmm.
Melo could go to the Warriors. He's kind of an interesting fit to be the 8th, 9th guy off the bench.
Well, if he's willing to come off the bench and
he's been coming off the bench
10 minutes a game. I mean, it's a much deeper.
He'll get more than 10 minutes. They gave Boogie some time on that team.
So if he's willing to do that, sure, definitely. I think it could be cool.
Do you think if he gets that championship, like that Gary Payton championship on the Heat, he's probably a little bit better than Gary? Do you think that does anything for his card values, or is it's already baked in?
No, I think a championship helps him. Even if he's just an afterthought, I think a championship does help him because it's the one thing, besides the fact that he didn't play any defense, it's the one thing that people have as a knock on him, right? People still say that. Patrick Ewing was great, but he never won a championship. Charles Barkley, right? He had so to the end also.
28,000 points Melo's had.
A lot of points.
Ninth. He's Karl Malone with a championship. Do you think it does anything? A much better person. Do you think it does anything for him? I don't know why I think he goes to the Warriors. I don't even know if there's any interest. It's just like a little bit of a hunch. I just think it's such an interesting situation. They just did it a few years ago with Boogie. Not as successful, but Melo to the Warriors being the 8th, 9th guy off the bench is a really interesting place for him.
I mean, listen, there are some great players in the NBA who never won a championship. You know this. And I think it helps. I think it does. I mean, it takes the narrative out there. Should Karl Malone have won one with the Lakers? Would that have helped? You think?
I think it would have. I think it would have. Those were my 3. You want me to go through some data? Any ones that you want me to pull up on the Collectable site? Show you. You talked about the LeBron Fleer credentials. Yep. That one was up 42% this week. I think
because that was one that fell below recent comps, right? I mean, we saw that there were recent sales on that one, and it bounced back. It bounced back heavy because it was up 42% this week. So that was a big one. Do you think the one I'll ask you about, right? Because it's weird. Tennis had a weird week. Tennis overall on the platform was up 23%, but one of the top 3 losers was the Serena Williams Net Pro. Can you talk about that? It's a PSA 10 basket of 2, the Serena Williams. It was up 25% last week, so it's another one of those where it's a theme. Up 25% last week, down 46% this week. What do you think about that?
I think it's going to keep going down. The issue with this is the market cap for these two is 28.4. I believe if you comp out these two cards in recent sales, it's close to 6,000 or 7,000. Sometimes, we blame the marketplaces, but we don't take enough responsibility to do our own research. Like, I know that's kind of become like this little funny, like, DYOR in NFT world in cards, but like it's really like serious. And to me, the fact that the market cap's 28.6, I could take 5 minutes here and look at what recent sales are. Last time we checked it live, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was like 37, something like that, 37.8. Yep. 37.8 times 2 is 7,800, 7,700, whatever. You guys could do the math. 7,500. That's a fourth of the market cap. So this is not about if Serena is a GOAT. This is just the valuations don't align.
Let me throw one out there for you guys. It's a card that I was looking at when I got back into the hobby. I remember looking at the pricing of it and then watching it go up as I didn't buy one. Maybe because people know him as a Yankee. And if you pull up the Roger Maris 58 Topps PSA 9, he wasn't on the Yankees. He wasn't a rookie with the Yankees. Nice card, cool coloring and the whole deal. And this is just,
do you want the exact number on the Serena so we can put a bow on it?
Sure, if you like.
3,172. The 2003 Net Pro Elite Serena Williams out of 2,000 sold June 5th through Golden. 3,172 multiplied by 2. That's the bow. You guys could go do your own research. Not going to beat a dead horse. Roger Maris. Let's talk about it.
Maris, 58 Topps rookie PSA 9. If you could pull it up and take a look at it. Right, so this is obviously a guy who with an asterisk, obviously, was the first one to break Ruth's record of 60 home runs in a season. He did.
Why with an asterisk?
Because Ruth did in 154 games and Maris did in 162.
More chances to pull a hamstring and miss time.
Well, it's eight more games. So you notice he's on Cleveland here, right? So he came up with the Indians. That's his rookie. Really nice card, cool coloring. The one on Collectable is not the best centering. I mean, we try to be as honest as we can here. But this is a card that the market cap has fallen to just below 15,000. You can give the number. Obviously, things ran this year, but this isn't an ultra modern. This isn't a Mahomes or a Luka or anything crazy like that. This is a vintage baseball card. Those did not run as crazily as other modern and ultra modern cards did. But during the course of this year, there have been sales at $28,000 and $31,000 on this. So, to have this one sitting now at a market cap of under 15, it's an interesting, it's an interesting item, right? I mean, Maris has a name. His record, he only had one record. It was broken, but he won an MVP. Go ahead. You were about to ask a question.
I'm curious. You see how this is the old PSA label?
Yes.
You remember that issue when Golden and PSA first merged, where I think that someone sent in a card to Golden and they brought it to PSA where they're like, we want to verify the authenticity. And they almost kind of regrade it, right?
Yes.
Do you think that when people see that card, it's an old PSA slab? If old PSA slabs really sell at a discount to new ones. Is that your experience too? That's what I've noticed.
100% they do. But on this particular card, I'll tell the story about it if it's all right. Everybody will be there, right? So
where I'm going with it, though, right?
Yeah, you're going with it because of like a LeBron Topps Chrome. When it was a $10,000 card, if it was an old label, it sold for $8,500 or $9,000. If it was a new label, it sold for the $10,000. That's a discount.
And if you sent it in to get a new label, would they regrade it and grade it lower?
I mean, they potentially could if they look at it and they 100%. But here's why on this card, you may be right. People may be giving it a little bit of a demerit. But do you know how many 10s there are on this particular card? This is a 9. You know how many 10s there are? 0. So this is the highest out there. There are no 10s, and there's only 35 9s. This is one of 35 9s total ever graded of Roger Maris's rookie. So this is one where, sure, would I pay a slight premium for it to be in a new label? Yeah. But remember, there's only 35 of these out there in any PSA label, old or new. So it's one of those things where I wouldn't get too crazy about that. But yeah, I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying on it. They definitely do. And just so that everybody knows, right? In May 22nd, Memory Lane had one of these. So it's not your typical crazy high auction. $27,967 on May 22nd. So we're talking, a month and a half ago, less than a month and a half ago. The same exact card sold in Memory Lane. On November 20th of 2021, $23,000. That's a heritage auction. Even in the crazy, last year, 27,000, 22,000, Robert Edwards, you name it. I mean, under 15, we're getting back down into, you have to go back to 2020 before any of the crazy run up to find prices for this card near where we are. So it's just, I think the issue with it is when you come on a collectible, when you come on a platform like this, people are looking for, the top assets. And Roger Maris, he was known for one thing, and that record has since been broken several times. I mean, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, and Barry Bonds. So
talk to me about this. So I remember growing up, A-Rod was the talk of the town. He was the next best thing. He has a tainted legacy. Let's just put it that way. Is that fair?
Sing it for me. Tainted Legacy.
Is that a song?
Tainted Legacy.
That's not a song. If I was the songwriter, those don't match. But anyway, Tainted Legacy. But he's kind of rebuilt it. Here on Collectable.
Touch me, baby. Tainted Legacy.
There's an 09 World Series game worn and signed uniform from the World Series game, full uniform. So like photo match, all that good stuff, signed. Only $74,000. What do you think about that? Like, is that? I don't want to say like a Mantle signed uniform, but like, let's fast forward to 2050, right? We do think long term here sometimes. 2030, 2040, 2050. Is that something that's kind of iconic? How do we remember A-Rod?
And that is the question, right? That's the question. It's funny because I was talking about A-Rod with Ian.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. Baseball's gone in 2040. What am I talking
about? Well, yeah,
about?
so now I remember. We're talking about...
we don't remember him at all.
And I was saying how, A-Rod, people don't really love him and don't really talk about him. And we were talking about like the great Yankees and this and that. And I said to him, I go, while he won a championship with the Yankees, he had a great year with the Yankees in 09. His best years were with Seattle and with Texas even. And also his best years with the Yankees, Texas, wherever, people just assume that the numbers that he put up are steroids. Even though he was an all-timer, even before that, like when he was coming up. Same with Barry Bonds, by the way. And Bonds was a 40-40 guy before any of that crap happened. So it's interesting stuff. Part of the A-Rod thing is it's what you have with Kawhi. How you talk about Kawhi, it's tough to have a fan base for him because he's kind of moved around. Same thing here. Yes, he won with the Yankees. He won that, one ring with the Yankees. But, he played for 3 teams for significant stretches of time. So that makes it a little tougher.
Investment-wise, is it like vintage baseball, Maris, Mantle? Steroid era, we're kind of tainted, so we don't like the Griffey. But Griffey, it's so interesting. Anyway, Griffey in that middle era. And then, like what I'm trying to figure out is that stain of steroids always going to be sitting on top of Sosa, McGwire, Bonds, A-Rod, and then it's just like that's washed, and now we, maybe this is a new era where maybe Tatis becomes this new superstar.
It's funny because, I mean, yes, obviously that could happen, right? They're testing now, they're doing all that fun stuff, but that era, there were so many great players who spanned that era. I mean, Nolan Ryan obviously was before it and then during it. So many great pitchers, right? Clemens was in there, and his name is an issue. Greg Maddux, no one ever thought that he cheated, but no one really cares about pitchers unless they're Ohtani. Canseco was great, also 40-40, first one to ever do it. Yeah, I mean, he clearly was on the juice.
Got big.
He clearly was on the juice. But, no, he was very good. He just didn't last. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing the way that it's been painted. You know, baseball got itself out of a bad spot there in the 90s by the steroids, you know, because it was just home run, home run, home run. But now, you know, while it got itself out of it and it was exciting, it now doesn't know how to get out of its own way with this. Like, they don't put the guys in the Hall of Fame. You know, they discount those guys. They kind of, you know, look at them with, you know, with an eye of disdain. So it's interesting stuff. I mean, I would imagine those guys eventually will be looked at in a different light by people who just don't care. They're just going to look at the stats and say, "Wow, look at what Barry Bonds did that year." You know, look at what he
Maybe
did.
they don't remember him though. Because if we don't talk about him, we don't create content around him, we don't do documentaries about him, that legacy doesn't get passed on. How do things get passed on? Through word of mouth or through watching a show or through watching something? Like, I wonder if people even remember. I mean, I think it would be such a cool documentary or even a movie to make, like that home run race the summer where Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, and Sosa.
Oh, they did. Yeah, I think ESPN did one about McGwire and
30
Sosa.
for 30.
Yeah, and you know, one of the documentaries. They did one with Bo Jackson. You know, I'm pretty sure it's like the summer of something. It's called.
I bet you more people know Bo from football than from baseball. Do you agree or disagree?
Yes. Although he played baseball after the football injury, so his baseball career lasted longer.
What a guy, man. Some people are just born with it. All right, let's go through this data real quick. Top 3 decliners: Duncan, Yao, Dirk, 06 Exquisite Triple Logo Man. Cage and I had an amazing Logo Man episode a few weeks ago. If you want to listen to that, it's the whole like Logo Man pump, pump, pump. Will we see more correction here? This one Logo Man, I mean, 3 great players, but not the flashiest guys. Duncan, Dirk, and Yao. Very interesting combo. We have Floyd Mayweather as the Brown Boxing, down 55.
I mean, that thing is down. That's down big. That's down big overall.
What do you think of Mayweather? Any thoughts on him? I don't think you've ever thought of buying his card, or you have?
No, never have. Because I don't think of him as. I would buy a Tyson card, but Tyson's more my era as a kid. You know, I don't know. Mayweather. Tyson was a heavyweight champion of the world. Mayweather, I don't even know what weight class he is in. I mean, isn't he in like 14 different weight classes? So it's just one of those things that, you know.
I think we're smarter than records. And what I mean by that is you also, with good collectors, I don't even want to say good collectors. I think with just collectors in general, you have to pass the eye test. And I think what we know with Tyson is he went through that fire. He went through the hero's journey. I'm sure Mayweather's had some tough fights, but I think the perception is that he's really just always kind of taken easy fights, been defensive, got his W's, great, you know, he's undefeated. But I think the perception is, bro, if you're fighting, you got to go through it, you know? I think that part is actually why McGregor's so respected in a lot of ways.
Even though he lost a bunch of his recent fights. Yeah, because he took fights that are difficult for him.
I think we're okay with losing. I think it's okay to lose. I think it's how you lose and what you do after it. That is really how you solidify yourself in the collector base.
I mean, I'm with you on it. I got to look up comps on this. I mean, it was one of those things, you know, as I do the episode ahead of time, right? You know, where I just look at the charts. Bless you, buddy.
I could look at the comps in a matter of seconds. Just tell me the card.
No, because if you're trying to pull up like a card ladder, it's not going to be on there. So the card, I'll tell you, the card is the 1948 Leaf.
Okay.
PSA 9 Warren Spahn. Okay, so you can take a look at this one.
Warren Sapp, the defensive end for the Tampa Bay.
Warren Sapp, yeah. No, Warren Spahn. SPAHN. No, huh?
Well, I'll look it up. I accidentally hit 2 buttons that exit out of my card ladder screen.
Take a look.
Warren Spahn,
1948 Leaf.
No,
nothing. Okay, so
tell us the story of who he is.
Pitcher. Warren Spahn was a great pitcher. But from what I heard, though, from the guy I was talking to yesterday, that the Braves held him out against the Dodgers because the Dodgers, you know, he was a lefty, and the Dodgers were a very righty heavy lineup, and they were gonna trounce him. So Lawrence Bond, man, I mean, just a great pitcher for the Braves. Boston Braves first, then Milwaukee Braves. A lot of people don't realize that. He's another guy who you'd get a kick out of because I'm pretty sure, like Ted Williams, he served in the Army in the second. He was in the Second World War. New York guy, upstate New York, I think, and he won 363 games over a 21-year span. 17-time All-Star, Cy Young winner. Runner-up a bunch of times, and Baseball Hall of Famer, obviously, first ballot, got 83% of the vote this first time around, and the best left-handed pitcher in the majors gets the Warren Spahn Award. So it's an interesting one because it's a card that doesn't come up for auction often. The last one that's on PSA, when PSA does their auction prices, was a heritage sale from 2018. At $31,200. So obviously, it's almost like an irrelevant comp, right? Because it doesn't.
Doesn't come up.
It
Card
doesn't.
Ladder has a rule that if it has to sell twice in 12 months, I believe.
And so it hasn't sold in almost 4 years.
Yeah.
So this one IPO'd at $10 a share, 8,600 shares, right? So that's $86,000, which would sort of make sense. It has slowly gone down, because it's only been in secondary trading for a couple of months, 10 to 9 to 8. Last week, this was $8.50 a share. Do you see this? Can you pull this one up? Because I want to make sure I don't have a typo. Remember, I just look at the charts here. Do you see what it's trading at? If you get a second, you can share your screen on this one.
Give me 1 second.
Take your time. Take your time.
Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Boom. Let's rock.
Now, if the chart that I have is right, you're going to see a huge drop.
This is a really nice 9.
It's a gorgeous card.
1948. What's that? Whew. Almost 80 years.
Yep. So show me the chart, please.
There you go. Little sell-off this week. Down 40% off like a cliff. 895 to 510.
From 895 to 510, which means if it was at an $86,000 valuation, it means the valuation is what, around 44 now market cap? I think it's going to show a market cap of about 43 and change, 44. You can take a look.
44.8, yeah.
Yeah, so $44,000 market cap on this one now. That's pretty crazy. Right? Pretty crazy. And here's the fun.
Write-ups, guys. Another thing to just remember, creating an account, for example, if you guys have been with us for 200 episodes, whatever, you've heard us on this fractional court, you don't have to deposit money right away to create an account on Collectable. You could create an account, and I think what's super cool is the history and the write-ups of all these players too. I know we've kind of done an amazing job talking about, okay, this card's up, this card's down, but the history and all of the stuff that goes with it, I think it would be valuable just to create an account and look around. So I apologize to interrupt you, but I think there's value in just that.
No, I think you're right. What's amazing about this particular card is you think of 48 Leaf. It's not one that you think of, although obviously he is a stud, possibly the best left-handed pitcher. Well, there have been a couple of good left-handers, but you have a 48
Kershaw.
Leaf. No, not Kershaw. But 48 Leaf, do you know how many 10s there are?
There can't be any.
Uno. You know how many 9s?
32. 4.
This is one of 4 9s, which is why you don't see this come up for sale that often and why the last sale is a heritage sale in 2018. There's 1 10 and 4 9s. So it's an interesting one because if you look at that chart, it fell off a cliff. And the price now, which was at 86,000, is now at 44. This sold in 2018 for 31.2. So it's an interesting one because back when this sold, people were not buying cards. People were definitely not buying baseball vintage. So 86 made sense. 44, that's an interesting one.
Are any other ones? I miss basketball so much. I think let's call this month, 2 months preparation season. It's when you put in the work, those sleepless nights. You could picture an athlete, Michael Jordan, doing suicides up the court. that's us using Google and looking up cards and reading history and all that stuff. I don't know economically what will happen September to December and so on, but I do know there's a lot of amazing stuff that happens September. We have NFL season starts very soon. Mm-hmm. Basketball's back, and I think NBA off season into regular season super fun. There's all that stuff. But we're going to add on top of that something we've never seen before, and that's a World Cup on top of that. So very interesting. Like kind of now it's a little slow, you know. Prism release, National Treasure comes out, you know, with us going to National a week before. So that's great and all. Remember, right after National, it's August. A little bit of a vacation month for everyone, and then kids are back to school. People are back to spending money. Everything gets interesting in September. So
the last couple things we'll talk about, guys, is in-app early access. We still have the Carlton Fisk Waves at Fair. We got an 09 Steph Curry Topps Gold Rookie PSA 10 with a market cap of $32,000. A 2016 LeBron James game-worn photo match jersey from 2016. And also a 2021 Trae Young game-worn and signed sneakers. Photo match to 2 games. Market cap's not huge on that, but remember, they're only offering 10% of it, 90% being retained by the owner of that. So, you know, just want to make sure you're aware of that. Open IPOs with shares remaining. You got that the 1911 Georges Vezina. I don't know. I'm not a hockey guy. He's a goalie, I remember. There's 40% of that remaining. The 49 Bowman Jackie Robinson. There's 21% of that. The 51 Bowman Mickey Mantle SGC 7, only about 5% of that remaining. So I'm sure that'll fill, you know, this week. And then your favorite, the Mike Eruzione, the 1980 Team USA Hockey Gold Medal game jersey from that one, only 10% remaining. Remember that had 89% retained. So that one's open. I will say one more thing, and it is, there are people out there who just listen to this episode of ours. You know, we appreciate you. You know, we'd love you to listen to all the other stuff too. Whether you're one of those folks or somebody who listens to all of our shows, if you're going to be at National, we will probably be at the Collectable booth for a little while. I know we're going to be, you know, probably recording some stuff out of there as well. So, you know, send us a message. And, you know, if you bought something here, you're selling something, you got questions for this, you know, you can always, you know, hit us in the Discord, Collectables Discord. There's a little section in there for Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze questions.
Is that right?
I jump in and answer the questions when people ask them 100%. And you could ask us in person. So, you know, if you're coming to National, send us a message, and, you know, we'd be happy to meet you and chat with you about any of these cards.
Who do you play for, Mike Eruzione? Play for USA. Risk something or forever sit with your dreams. Herb Brooks.
There you go. You do a good Herb. You can't just get into Herb. 42 minutes into the episode, you could do a little Herb.
I might watch Miracle tonight. I'm feeling that, dude. That movie makes me inspired, a little bit tearful, proud to be an American, proud to have left Russia too. They all have uniforms.
You're the worst. Thank you, Luca Nation.
Thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo My. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So, as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is, 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com, or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luca Nation.